This is TWiT.
Here to talk about all and sundry, we've got Mr. Jeff Jarvis. He's the Leonard Tao. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to wake you, Jeff. Leonard Tao, Professor for Journalistic Innovation at the Craig Newmark Graduate School of Journalism at the City University of New York, and Director of the Tao Knight Center for Entrepreneurial Journalism at the Craig Newmark Graduate School of Journalism at the City University of New York. And he blogs at buzzmachine.com. And he just barely fits behind his lower third. Professor Jarvis, hello.
Hello, and happy almost birthday, Leo.
Thank you. Yes, they've decorated the set a little prematurely with birthday hats.
Well, tomorrow's your day off.
Tomorrow I'm taking a day off for my birthday, and it's my day off anyway. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes. And Stacey Higginbotham is also here from StaceyOnIoT.com. She's had a lovely day trying to follow the 372 announcements that Amazon made at Amazon. What is it? Amazon Relay?
Reinvent.
Redo. Request.
Nope.
AWS Reinvent.
Yes, we've got race cars, fish, blockchain, AI. It's going to be crazy.
They announced so many products. It's mind-boggling. The most interesting one was something called DeepRacer, and you can go to aws.amazon.com/DeepRacer to find out more. I actually ordered it. It's not going to come till March, just kind of a bummer. It is, they say, the fastest way to get rolling with machine learning, literally. Get hands-on with the fully autonomous 1/18th scale race car driven by reinforcement learning, 3D racing simulator, and Global Racing League. So I guess they're going to have a league. Compete in the world's first global autonomous racing league. I have no idea what this is.
So I don't know if this is the most exciting piece of news, but it is definitely well-packaged, deep, nerdy news that you're like, oh my God. So what they're talking about here, and it is big news, don't get me wrong, but I'm like, there's a lot of other news coming out. But this one, what's cool is they are showing a way to do what's called reinforcement learning at the edge. And by edge, they mean on a tiny little race car. So what they're doing is they're training a model using something called reinforcement learning. And the way reinforcement learning works, it's actually the same way that they trained Google's DeepMind to play Atari games. So you basically give it a goal and you're like, if you get it right, you keep going. If you get it wrong, you fall off. You, like in the car case, you derail and you're like, oh, that's not how. And each time it gets it right, it optimizes for that moment. So that's what reinforcement learning is about.
So that's like that Brev walker I used to have, which is a screensaver, a box with 4 legs that couldn't walk, but it would keep trying different strategies, and then it would note, hey, I got a little farther this time, and so incorporate that strategy. And the theory was over days, weeks, and months, and it did take a long time, it would actually teach itself to walk.
Yes. I don't know if that's the exact model that one was using, but it is a similar concept.
This is a long time ago. I mean, this was a decade ago or more.
So that's why I'm like, maybe. Because I don't actually know what you're talking about.
Oh, man, I wish I could still find this thing.
But what's cool about this is they're basically training the car in this tiny little car, and they're going to be like, okay, car, we've trained you on these tracks. Now go, and it's going to put it out in the real world. This is a big deal because you have to train things in the cloud on these giant GPUs, but then you also have to use models you're building these super complicated models and getting them to run on a device that's like battery powered without a lot of compute power. It's really hard to do.
So it's not connected to a server somewhere? It's not doing this in the cloud? It's doing it on board?
It's on board, and it's using... So that's why this is really interesting. I mean, it can connect to the cloud, but it learns the tracks and then runs them. So that's what's kind of happening here that's worthwhile. It is also tracks. I guess I'm not 100% sure.
I don't see how you can do a competitive race unless you have the same track, right?
So yeah, that I'm not 100% sure. I'm like, I don't know how this works. I can explain the technical weird stuff behind it, but like how you win, I don't know.
But this is
so they're doing races.
Right.
They're having a racing league.
But they're not like your physical things there. It's online, right? You upload what you taught your racer, and see how it does against other racers in a virtual environment. It looks like. Evaluate your model on a simulated racetrack, tune your reward function and hyperparameters, train again to improve lap times, then submit your model to the virtual leaderboard to enter the AWS DeepRacer League. Oh, but then it does. Oh, I'm sorry. I take it back. Then, once you've been accepted, deploy your model to the AWS DeepRacer to pit your skills against others in real-world racing events. This sounds pretty awesome.
Yeah, and so like what I was talking about, so the reward function in like the video game things, it's like don't die. In here, it's going to give you lots of different options for reward functions and parameters. Maybe it's like, hey, you can take turns this fast. I don't know what's important in racing, but those are the kind of things that you'll train it with, and you'll be like, okay, let's say your actual end goal is to, stay upright and not fall off a track. Then it might go slower and you're like, oh, that's a crappy end goal. Let's train it using this instead. This is really simplistic. I'm just trying to keep it light and happy.
I hate to be a Scrooge McKilljoy, but doesn't it just go round and round and round and around? What's to learn?
No, there's probably, I mean, if it's a simulate, there's 20 different races. I'm assuming they're going to be kind of like the racetracks, like if you do Formula One, how each track is different.
Yeah, you won't know what the track is ahead of time. You're training it to enter an unknown situation and navigate.
Oh.
Like this, by the way, I downloaded, while we've been talking, downloaded and installed the Brev Screensaver. So this screensaver is going to, it keeps dropping this thing in here and trying to walk. You see it has not, in fact, traveled any distance at all. So that is a failed iteration, and it's going to keep iterating until it finds an iteration that actually moves. And I'll tell you what, next year, just ask me. We'll leave this on for a year, see if it walks. It's kind of I think it's the same kind of thing, except that you can you can have inputs to your DeepRacer as opposed to this, which just kind of, the best distance I've done is 3 meters, and somehow this brick doesn't look like it's going anywhere. Oh, here's one. Oh, this is interesting. Look at that. See? Well,
it moved.
It moved. It flipped itself over. Yeah. So, it's learned something here. This was by the way, this is the new champion. 3.57 meters. It's actually, I used to put it on my kids' computers. They loved it because it was for little kids, this is great because it's one thing more inept than they are at learning how to navigate the world. So DeepRacer is cool. I ordered one. I don't know if I have I have a feeling I can do it. It seems, I guess the question is, who's this intended for? Is this intended for kids to learn or for adults who are actually working in the field to do stuff with?
I think it's going to be probably for both, but mostly for adults who like to play with these toys.
It's a toy, though. It's not. Here it is. Here's the league. It's open to everyone. Live events. They'll be at London, Tokyo, Sydney, Singapore, and New York at AWS Summit locations. This is PR, right? Yes. That's why I'm kind of like, is this the biggest news? I mean, from an economic standpoint in Amazon's business, no. Well, it's $249. So actually list price is $300. So it's may help Amazon's bottom line a little bit. They get people excited. Oh my gosh, Leo, here's what I found for you. So your screensaver uses agent-based modeling as opposed to reinforcement learning. And I have found a Quora answer on the difference between the two. I'm not reading it now because I'll stop paying total attention to you, and that would be bad. But leave this as an assignment for future research. I will drop this in our chat if you care to learn. Very interesting. Oops. Maybe I'll drop it in chat. Maybe I won't. Well, so it says on that write-up you just showed from the order, the first selling point is that it's a way to learn more about ML. Yeah,